Back on Trojans Live, Jordan Moore, Sean Cody Kessler, and the head coach for USC women's golf, a returning champ here, Justin Silverstein. Great to have you back, Coach. Always a pleasure. Your team, it looks like you have another talented squad this year, and you just came off a tournament in Colorado where they absolutely lit it up. It seemed to enjoy the altitude, I guess. What was going so well?
It was an unbelievable week, top to bottom, really good for us. The biggest challenge going to play in Colorado, obviously the altitude. I think we just did a wonderful job preparing. We utilized our indoor facility, just a couple hundred feet over there. Cranked that altitude up to about 8,000 a couple times before we left. Tried to over-adjust, which actually I think gave us a huge advantage compared to some of the other teams there that were adjusting on site. So we actually went so advanced with our yardage work, we got comfortable how far they were hitting it and could dial it back, which is actually kind of what we normally do at sea level. So I think it was really good. We got a soft golf course and took advantage of it. It was awesome.
Coach, when you have a team that's so stacked like you have to. I'm sure that you're setting your expectations. What goes into talking through your team about setting the expectations for your year and what you guys expect to achieve.
We know what the expectation is outcome-wise. We're trying to win every tournament we go to. I've said that since I got hired here. That's why they pay me. That's why we have them on scholarship, is to try to go win tournaments. But we just try to get so deep in our process. We actually don't even talk about our process a lot. It's just kind of our data-driven practice that we do. That is our process. Mm-hmm. And the deeper we get in that and the more focused we are at home, we know the outcomes will take care of themselves. So we've done a really good job of that so far this year. Just a little cleaner performance this time than our first tournament where we finished third. We're able to come away with a win.
Coach, you've had a lot of accomplishments here at USC, but the one that impresses me the most is you have 18 All-Americans and 17 first-team All-Conference players. That tells me that you can recruit well, but you also can develop well, and that's so important at the college level. What's allowed you to have that success when it comes to the development of your golfers?
Well, recruiting great players makes you a good coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be the best coach in the country if you don't have the players. You're not going to get it done. But what we
you couldn't turn me into an All-American coach? What the heck?
You never gave me the chance. What we've done really well recently is identify recruits that want to come here and be developed. And that sounds kind of weird, but some golfers don't. Some golfers are like, "Where's the range? Leave me alone." And we have those kids on visits, and we're like, you know what? We're probably good here.
Yeah.
We're very upfront with what we do when we get you on campus, as far as a recruit's concerned. And you can see immediately some kids are like, sit up in their chair and they're like, "Yeah, tell me more about this," and some kind of sit back and are like, "Nah, maybe not for me." So we've tried to wean out those kids and get kids that want to get better, and we've got a room full of them right now. I think this is probably our best locker room since I've been head coach, and we're really excited about what we can do.
That was a great coach answer, but you got to give yourself more credit because, me and Sean have seen it. You've been on teams where 5-stars come in, and if they're not coachable, they don't develop the right way. So that's a huge testament to you.
Well, it's a good transition, Coach. I'm a little bit grumpy today. Nothing makes me more patriotic every 2 years than the Ryder Cup, and I'm tired of getting beat here. But you're a good person to talk to about this because you're presented with two of these challenges every year, which is one, take kids that were trained to be individual sport athletes and make them into a team somehow, and then two, play stroke play all year, and then when the chips are down, play a completely different sport, basically, which is match play. Explain that challenge to people many of whom watched the failings of the best players in the world trying to do those two things.
It's incredibly difficult for those athletes and the coaches to be put in that position. But as far as the Ryder Cup's concerned, the formats are different, so I think it actually makes the match play, stroke play change a little bit easier because you're playing with a partner. The singles piece is a little awkward, but it's still pretty cool, right? It's one day just head-to-head.
Yeah.
But I do think being put in that position on such a big stage for the American kids is different than the European kids because if you look at European junior golf, they grow up playing match play in team formats.
Oh, wow.
We now have a U.S. national team. We're in our second year now of having that through the USGA. So our kids are going to start seeing that a little bit more. But as far as stroke play, match play, the Europeans see that probably 10, 20x what we see here in the United States.
Coach, got a little rowdy out there, I noticed. Got a little crazy out there.
New York,
what's the
East Coast.
You ever been in one of those kind of golfing situations where it's got a little rowdy out there?
No, I was kind of jealous. It looked pretty cool. I actually really like how Rory handled it for the most part. I mean, the coolest thing ever was telling that dude to shut up and then stuffing it to 2.5 feet. He really set himself up to not look really cool. And as golfers, we don't look cool that often. But that was a pretty good moment. That crowd seemed to get a little too rowdy Saturday, but seemed to rein it in for Sunday. New York loves to come back, and they made a good run. So I think it was a good atmosphere. Every other year is probably about as much as we need for that. Plus the Waste Management Phoenix Open gives you a little bit of taste of that. And then I think we're good. Back to kind of being settled
I did
down.
watch the Zapruder film of the alleged drink that was thrown at Mrs. McElroy, and it was an arm hit. Drink flies up.
Someone swiped the can and
Miss misunderstanding in that situation.
Yeah, that was wild. Okay, I got a question for you, Coach. This is for your athletes, but also maybe the average golfer out there, aka
It's for
me.
It's for Cody.
For me. So in the off season, when I'm not working, I have a lot of time to golf. What would you say is more important? And more of a serious way, you think it's more important to go out there and play around over and over? Or do you think it's more important to spend time on the range and perfect your craft? And if you have the option of both, which one are you doing?
You're going to hate this answer, but it's both. It depends on your skill level. Like as you're building up your skill level, you need that block practice on the range, that mundane over, chipping, putting, hitting. As you get up in skill level, the best thing you can do for practice is to practice on the golf course.
Yeah.
So if you're fortunate enough to have a golf course with some open space in front of you and behind you where you can hit extra shots, that's where you're going to get the best practice by yourself because you can simulate real golf situations and work on them over and over in that way that you do on the range. So you're randomizing your practice, but on the course. That's like the best of both worlds.
I'm the worst at just going to the range and just pounding golf balls over and over and over. But I'm always told it's called golf, not golf swing. But you're not having fun at golf if your golf swing's bad. So it's always kind of a thing for me that I've always been confused with.
You just got to get creative at practice. I mean, we're trying to randomize stuff all the time when we're practicing as a group, and it's hard because it is a sport where you can just do the same thing over and over and get pretty good at it. But it's going to hold you back in the long run from getting as good as you want to be.
I was looking at your roster, and it was a refreshing feeling these days. Looking at many of our team's rosters, it's like, oh, it's a whole new team to learn. But you have some roster continuity, and you have had successful teams, but they haven't quite gotten over the hump yet, which means that they've built up some scar tissue. What's that like when you bring back a group that is good enough to win it every year, and now you can go into this year, I assume all of them having learned a lot over the last couple.
Yeah, I mean, our lone senior is Catherine Park, and she's seen it all.
A lot of golf here.
A lot of really good golf. Her last round was bogey-free, 64, 8 under, which is crazy. And she's actually in Singapore right now at the World Amateur Team Championship, which is really cool for her. But she's seen it all. She's seen it all here. She's seen the good, the bad, the ugly. So as we bring in freshmen and a transfer this year, she's able to kind of teach them what it's like before they experience it. And that's something in golf we don't see a ton because a lot of times our best players are in and out of here a year or two. So having someone like her who's been around for 4 years, came in as a pretty highly recruited junior golfer, but got really good here. She's so bought into the development process. So there's no excuse for a freshman to not be bought into that development process we talked about, Cody. So it's been really good, and she's been a blessing for us and one of our best players in program history.
Coach, the football team took one on the chin, and it's not always going to go perfect for any team you're on. You're going to have to bounce back after tough defeats. I'm sure you've been there. And what's the message from a coach after a tough loss and your expectations are high, and maybe you got to reset where you're at? What's if you're going to the football meeting right now, what's kind of the message for the team there?
Well, what we try to do is we try to stay away from any generalizations that are really easy to make after a tough time. We try to get really specific, and we've talked about it on the show before, very data-based with what we do, but we really try to dig deep in the data to show them this is why it went wrong. Like, we could have seen this coming 3, 4, 5 days before we left, that this is an issue, and here's the numbers that prove it. So we go back then to the process-oriented part of things, say, this is what we're going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again, because we can't keep making the same mistakes over and over. And that's something we talk about, especially in golf, where there's a lot of randomization as far as, hitting shots is concerned, but your process stuff is picking targets, picking clubs, picking yardages. If there's any mistakes made there, we can't be making those over and over site to site. So we really try to drill down into those really specific things. Yep. And we've seen with our really highly talented players who are ranked high, that hits home with them. We earn more trust with them when we can show them that stuff. Then we can get back to work.
Stanford Intercollegiate is next for you guys, and then your fall schedule really builds to that East Lake Cup, right? That's a cool event on TV. Is that match play?
It's match play. Yeah. It's 1 round of stroke play for seeding purposes, and then 2 rounds of match play.
And we're going to win the Ryder Cup in 2 years in Ireland, right?
We got some changes to make.
We got some changes. Maybe we found.
You might be on that short list for captains.
Yeah, maybe instead of just going with vibes as a captain,
but
we
keeping
can
on the team. Let Coach
go. Strategy. Just a thought. Thank you to Coach as always. We've got another football roundtable coming up next on Trojans Live.